a mother has finally been identified as the victim of a 1971 Maryland cold case, thanks to advancements in DNA technology. In July 1971, a woman was found unconscious in a field behind a snowball stand along Maryland Route 99 in Woodstock after an apparent assault. She was transported to the hospital where she was treated for her injuries. Unfortunately, the woman never regained consciousness and passed away 2 months later on September 7th. For 54 years, her identity remained unknown, and the investigation into her demise went cold. In October 2024, cold case investigators found biological slides refrigerated for more than 50 years. Those slides were used to create a DNA profile of the victim. Thanks to advances in DNA profiling and the Howard County Police Department's cold case unit's exhaustive research, the police have identified her as Sadie Belle Murray. Sadie was born on September 7, 1924, in Pennsylvania, and at the time of her demise, she went by the name Sarah Belle Sharkey. The investigators then used genealogy technology to identify her 2 surviving children as 79-year-old Charles Leroy Sharkey of Cleveland and 81-year-old Mildred Marie Cantwell Sharkey of Springfield, Illinois. Sadie's children were placed in orphanages at a young age after their mother passed away. They reunited in July 2025 when the cold case detectives notified them. Police Chief Gregory Dare said, "The work done by our cold case unit to solve a mystery of more than 50 years and then bring siblings back together after 70 years apart is nothing short of extraordinary. Our department will use every tool available to help close cases. In this instance, a combination of advanced technology and dedicated police work provided answers that had eluded a family for decades." Howard County Executive Calvin Ball said, "Today marks the culmination of our efforts and our persistence in public safety. Since taking office, we have made solving cold cases in Howard County a priority because justice delayed does not need to mean justice denied." He added, "Together with Chief Dare and our law enforcement leadership, we have taken decisive steps to ensure that every unsolved case is treated with the urgency and care it deserves. Their work reminds us that justice has no expiration date." Charles Sharkey said, "It is actually great, and it is something that I thought would have never happened. I thought I would never connect again with my family. I tried there for a while, even traveling to Pennsylvania where we were born and Cleveland where we were adopted. I got nowhere. There was nothing." Mildred Cantwell said, "Learning about my mother was closure for me. I always wondered, and I am glad to have that closure. Being reunited with my brother is awesome. He is the only thing in that family that I remember. The closure is worth everything because I always wondered what happened to her." The investigation into Sarah's case remains open. The detectives believe that she was last living in Pennsylvania, but it is unknown why she was in Howard County and who she may have been with at the time. Sadie was a daughter, a mother, a member of the larger Howard County family, and today she is no longer forgotten. All open cold cases are listed on the HCPD website. Anyone with information on any of the cases is eligible for a reward of up to $30,000 and should contact the police at 410313-STOP or HCPD crime tips at howardcountymd.gov. A man's sudden disappearance has left his loved ones searching desperately for answers. For years, the investigators treated his case as a missing persons investigation, but 5 years later, his case has been reclassified. 37-year-old Luther Harris was last seen on April 30th, 2020, in the parking lot of his apartment complex in the 1500 block of Alamo Drive in Vacaville, California. He had no contact with family or friends since then. He was reported missing on May 10th by his mother, a Dixon resident, after failing to contact the family on Mother's Day, something described as uncharacteristic for Luther, who was known to maintain close contact with his loved ones. At the time of his disappearance, Luther was described by the California Attorney General's office as a black male, 5 feet 8 inches tall, weighing around 150 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. He had several distinctive tattoos, including full-sleeve tattoos on both arms, a Heaven's Gate tattoo on his back, Chinese writing on his neck, a prayer scripture on his ribcage, and 3 gremlins tattooed on his stomach. He also had a scar on his stomach. When he was last seen, he was wearing a black hat, red hooded sweatshirt, black jean vest, black pants, and black and red Nike shoes. He also wore black framed glasses, earrings, a watch, and a necklace. Initially investigated by the Dixon Police Department, the case was taken over by Vacaville detectives in June 2021. Through the years, the detectives with the Investigative Services section pursued a wide-ranging investigation, conducting numerous interviews, executing multiple search warrants, and collecting critical evidence. Although leads slowed at times, the detectives never stopped pursuing answers. In December 2024, new evidence suggested that Luther may have been the victim of foul play. The continued investigation ultimately uncovered evidence that led to arrests. In late August 2025, shortly before Labor Day weekend, Vacaville police posted a reminder on social media about ongoing missing persons cases, including Luther's, urging the public to come forward with any information. On September 5th, the department issued an update saying, "Based on information gathered during this investigation, the Vacaville Police Department has reclassified Luther Harris's disappearance as a slaying, and again urged anyone with information to contact the investigators." After more than 5 years of investigation, Vacaville Police Department detectives have arrested 2 suspects in connection with the disappearance and demise of Luther, the father who was reported missing in May 2020. On September 18th, the police announced the arrests of 41-year-old John Davis Lipsey IV and 33-year-old Erica Renee Kelsch, both of Woodland. Arrested at his residence, Lipsey was taken into custody, while Kelsch was arrested on suspicion of being an accessory. Lipsey faced further arraignment in the appointment of counsel in Solano County Superior Court on September 22nd in Department 25 in the Justice Center in Fairfield. Kelsch, who posted $45,000 bail, faces arraignment at 8:30 a.m. on November 6th, also in Department 25. The Vacaville Police Department expressed gratitude for the support provided by several law enforcement partners, including the FBI Sacramento Field Office, the FBI Solano County Violent Crimes Task Force, and the California Department of Justice Special Operations Unit. The police said in a statement, "While these arrests mark a significant step forward, this remains an active investigation. Due to the sensitive nature of this investigation, additional details will not be released at this time. The authorities have not disclosed what specific evidence led to the reclassification or the arrests." Responding to public inquiries online, the police said, "At this time, we are not able to share additional details as the investigation is ongoing." They added, "We simply are asking anyone with potentially related information, no matter how minor it may seem, to reach out and let us know so we can look into it. Anyone with information related to this case is encouraged to contact Detective Vince Santoni at 707-469-4812. Remains found under a concrete slab has been identified thanks to a tip and DNA testing. On August 26, 2021, a property owner in Dolan Springs, Arizona, was breaking up a concrete slab in his yard when he found human remains underneath. Several law enforcement agencies responded and began investigating. The Mojave County Sheriff's Office, working with the Department of Anthropology at the University of Tucson, identified the victim as a white or Hispanic male over the age of 40, between 5 feet 7 inches and 5 feet 9 inches tall. The man was believed to have been buried at the location for at least 10 years, and his cause of demise was determined to be a gunshot wound to the head. His demise was ruled a slaying. Details of the case were entered into the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, but despite an extensive investigation, the man could not be identified, and he became known as Mojave County John Doe, 2021. In 2022, the Mojave County Sheriff's Office submitted forensic evidence to Othram to determine if advanced DNA testing could help identify the man. Othram scientists successfully developed a DNA extract from the provided evidence and then used forensic-grade genome sequencing to build a comprehensive DNA profile for the victim. Othram's in-house forensic genetic genealogy team used the profile in a genetic genealogy search to develop new investigative leads that were returned to law enforcement. On July 29, 2025, during the investigation, sheriff's investigators received a tip from a woman indicating she might have information on the identity of the man. She said a man, identified as Chett Williams, had been living with her parents until he suddenly disappeared in 1998 or 1999. When she asked her parents about Chett, they said that he had left abruptly, which the woman thought to be odd, as all of his personal belongings were left behind. She said that her parents lived on the same street where his remains were found, and remembered her parents poured a slab of concrete at that location after he disappeared. Her parents were identified as B and Alvin Hamilton. B passed away in 2018, and Alvin passed away in 2006. The investigators were able to contact Chett's relatives on the East Coast, who said he had gone to Arizona to live with a woman named B. Hamilton. A family reference sample was obtained from a likely relative and provided to Othram so that it could be compared to the victim using kin-SNP rapid relationship testing. This investigation led the Mojave County Sheriff's Office to identify the 2021 victim as Chester G. Williams III, also known as Chett Williams, born in 1947. The investigators checked property records and found that the parents of the woman who provided the tip were B and Alvin Hamilton, owners of the property where the man was buried and found in 2021. It was also learned that a man identified as Chett G. Williams had used that address as his residence location. No records of Chester could be found after 1999. The department shared in a written statement. The positive identification of this victim would not have been possible without Project Grace and Othram. The partnership between these agencies and the Mojave County Sheriff's Office has proven to be highly successful. The Mojave County Sheriff's Office would like to extend our sincerest gratitude for their continued assistance in these difficult cases. A cold case has finally seen some progress after 4 decades. The case has gone from an unidentified person case to an unsolved slaying case. On May 10, 1984, the skeletal remains of an unidentified individual were found in a wooded area near the Chattahoochee River in southwest Cobb County, Georgia. A man walking near the edge of his property found the remains. Several law enforcement agencies responded to investigate and search the surrounding area for more evidence. The remains appeared to be a partially clothed adult woman with brown hair. The Cobb County medical examiner determined that the woman was between the ages of 18 and 25. She stood 5 feet to 5 feet 4 inches tall and weighed between 105 and 115 pounds. At some point in her life, the woman underwent reconstructive surgery on the right side of her face to repair a fractured maxilla and a crushed orbital bone. She also had metal pins in her left ankle. The medical examiner estimated that she had lost her life at least 3 months prior to her remains being found. The woman was found with a synthetic auburn wig and several pieces of clothing, including a Western-style long-sleeve blouse with ruffles on the front and a light blue t-shirt with a Playboy bunny on the front. The investigators also found a pair of blue jeans and a single light-colored knee-high sock with blue and brown stripes and 2 size 8 boots that were light-colored Western style with a thick fleece lining. Her left boot had a metal plate inside. Also found was a men's Brown Riches brand corduroy coat, a work shirt with an embroidered name patch that read George and the company name, Doug Hyde Unlimited. In the shirt pocket, the investigators also found a pack of Camel Light cigarettes and a small manila envelope, measuring 2 inches by 1 inch, containing 2 hand-rolled butts. No jewelry or other belongings were found at the scene. Despite all the evidence and leads, the case eventually went cold. In 2011, almost 3 decades later, a traditional STR-DNA profile was developed for comparison to missing persons and entered into CODIS, but no matches were returned. Officials also had a facial reconstruction expert create a 3D model of what the woman may have looked like when she was alive and distributed it to the media. Despite an intensive years-long investigation, the woman could not be identified, and she became known as Cobb County Jane Doe, 1984. Details of the case were entered into the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System in October 2012. A decade later, in 2022, the Cobb County Medical Examiner, the Cobb County Police Department, and the Georgia Criminal Justice Coordinating Council submitted forensic evidence to Othram to determine if advanced DNA testing could help identify the woman. Othram scientists successfully developed a DNA extract from the provided evidence and then used forensic-grade genome sequencing to build a comprehensive DNA profile for the woman. Othram's in-house forensic genetic genealogy team used the profile in a genetic genealogy search to develop new investigative leads that were returned to law enforcement. Using this new information, a follow-up investigation was conducted, leading the investigators to potential relatives of the woman. Reference DNA samples were collected from a relative and compared to the DNA profile of the unidentified woman. In September 2025, this investigation led to the positive identification of the woman, who is now known to be Veronica Jane Miller, born on November 10, 1963. Veronica was 20 years old when she lost her life, and the investigation into her demise is still open. The investigators are urging anyone who may know something to come forward. Tips can be reported to Cobb County Police's Major Crimes Unit at 770499-3945. Thanks to advances in forensic technology, a family finally has some closure as the human remains of their loved one have been identified by the Canadian authorities. In April 1980, a hiker found a human skull underneath the forest floor after veering off a trail in Algonquin Park in Canada. The investigators searched the area and uncovered more bones, along with a boot, a leather wallet, clothing, and a sleeping bag. Forensic experts determined that the remains belonged to a young white male, likely between 18 and 21 years old, and they placed his time of demise between July 1971 and spring 1978. They did not find any signs of foul play. Despite public appeals, nobody came forward to identify the John Doe, and the case went cold. Then, on March 23, 1995, the Ontario Provincial Police said that a jawbone was discovered near the same trail where the earlier human remains had been found. The authorities confirmed that both the jawbone and the remains belonged to the same person, but efforts to further identify the individual remained unsuccessful. In July 2017, the Ontario Provincial Police shared on social media a 3D clay reconstruction of what the victim's face might have looked like. Tips poured in, but no match was found. 5 years later, in 2022, the authorities submitted the victim's DNA to the DNA Doe Project for investigative genetic genealogy analysis. The DNA Doe Project took up the case in 2023, and in just 24 hours, their volunteers were able to match the John Doe's genetic profile to DNA from distant relatives, leading to his presumptive identity as Eric Ricky Singer. Ricky's family filed a missing persons report and hired a private investigator to try to find him. They even conducted their own searches through various missing persons organizations without any luck. The investigators needed to locate Ricky's family members to confirm his identity. They were able to track down his sisters, Ruth and Mary, in the United States, who then submitted their DNA samples. Ruth said, "On September 19, 2023, I was contacted by an unidentified caller. Feeling strongly guided to take the call, the caller introduced himself as a detective from the Ontario Provincial Police. He said he had some difficult news for me and asked whether I had time to listen. Immediately, my tears began to fall, and I knew that they had found him." Mary said, "The next step was to submit our DNA samples, after which more information could be shared with us from police files collected over the past 5 decades. This turned out to be a lot more complicated than just matching DNA. It took almost 2 years, the exchange of many emails, texts, and phone calls with our dedicated detective and various members of the forensic team. Algonquin Park John Doe was officially confirmed to be Eric Ricky Singer on February 14, 2025. Over the summer, Ruth and Mary traveled to Canada to retrace their brother's final steps alongside some of the investigators who worked on his case. Ontario Provincial Police Detective Sergeant Philip Holmes, the lead investigator on the case, said, "Eric Singer's remains were found before I was even born. The fact that I am involved in supporting his family and understanding what happened to him feels a little surreal. This was one of the most rewarding investigations of my career. Ricky's family is extremely grateful to finally know what happened to their loved one." Mary said that the last time she saw him was on October 3rd, 1973. Ricky had been exploring Canadian options after dropping out of college in 1970 and receiving his draft card for Vietnam. He did not get drafted, but he continued to spend time in Canada over the next few years. Suddenly, he disappeared on his bike with a backpack and they never heard from him again. Ricky returned home to Cleveland to live with his parents in the summer of 1973 after spending time abroad, only to vanish that fall. The family filed a missing persons report and hired a private investigator afterward, but did not get answers to his whereabouts. His parents passed away before they knew what happened to their son. Ricky's sisters are finally able to put him to rest. A precious life was ended before he even had the chance at living. The person responsible was the person that was supposed to love and protect him. After 33 years, justice will finally be served. On December 21st, 1992, the body of a baby boy was found at the Iowa City landfill. The Iowa City Police Department and the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation launched an extensive investigation into the demise of baby John Doe. The circumstances surrounding both the birth and demise were unclear. Limitations in DNA technology brought the case to a standstill. However, almost 3 decades later, due to advances in DNA testing, the investigators reopened the case in October 2020. The investigators determined that Cindy Sue Elder, formerly known as Cindy Sue Eckrich, was the mother of the baby. Elder was 26 years old when the birth and demise happened. Elder spoke with investigators at her home in Clever, Missouri. The investigators said that she admitted to giving birth in an Iowa City home. She allegedly told the police that the baby was alive when he was born, and that she did something to quiet him down. She then allegedly put him in a plastic bag before putting the bag in a trash receptacle in Coralville, near her father's home. The investigators said that Elder told them she did not want to be pregnant, and that she did not tell anyone she was pregnant, including the baby's father. She went to extreme lengths to try and lose the baby. She never got prenatal care for the pregnancy, and she would punch herself in the stomach to try and have a miscarriage. The baby's father told the police that he had no knowledge that Elder was pregnant or that she had a baby. Elder's actions caused the baby to lose his life. 58-year-old Elder was arrested in early September 2025 in Christian County, Missouri, where she had been held until her extradition back to Iowa. She was charged with first-degree slaying. She was booked into the Johnson County Jail on September 24th. Iowa City Police Chief Dustin Liston said, "This case exemplifies our commitment to crime victims, especially ones so vulnerable. I am grateful for the dedication, partnerships, and technological advances that have made this arrest possible." A program to solve indecent assault cases in Ventura County has led to the arrest of a man believed to be a serial predator in Arizona. In 1994, in Ventura County, California, a woman was indecently assaulted. The then 24-year-old woman was kidnapped and indecently assaulted after she agreed to give the perpetrator a ride to an Oxnard store. He first assaulted her in her car and then again at a Camarillo hotel, where the woman was able to gain the attention of an employee who called the police. An indecent assault kit was collected, but not processed. DNA was still a relatively new forensic tool, and there was no mandate to test the DNA or enter it into a national database. Then 4 years later, on July 7, 1998, in Phoenix, Arizona, a 17-year-old girl walking home was offered a ride home. She accepted, but the driver drove past her house to a secluded area where he assaulted her before dropping her off. The next year, on January 30, 1999, another assault happened in Avondale, Arizona. An 18-year-old woman was assaulted. She reported being forcibly taken into a car. She was punched, made to remove her clothes, was then indecently assaulted. Then, she was dropped off elsewhere. Then, 14 years later, on April 22, 2013, another 17-year-old girl was offered a ride before being indecently assaulted in Arizona. None of these women saw justice as the cases went cold. Then, in 2022, the Ventura County Assault Kit Initiative was launched. The aim of this initiative is to test unprocessed assault kits in Ventura County. Early or mid-2025, the 1994 cases kit was tested, and DNA from it was uploaded into the Combined DNA Index System. In August, DNA matched to Abraham M. Ramirez. He was taken into custody in Phoenix, Maricopa County in Arizona. Ramirez was linked to 4 unresolved cases of kidnapping and indecent assault in Arizona from 1998 to 2013, in addition to the original 1994 case in California. In September, 55-year-old Ramirez was indicted by a Maricopa County grand jury on 11 counts of indecent assault and kidnapping. Ventura County Sheriff Jim Fryhoff said, "This case proves that no matter how much time has passed, we will use every tool available to pursue justice and stand with survivors." It is a powerful example of why we remain committed to testing every assault kit in Ventura County. Ventura County District Attorney Eric Nasarenko emphasized the importance of forensic testing in solving long-standing cases. He said, "This outcome underscores the power of DNA testing and the critical role of our crime lab in bringing long-delayed justice. Even decades later, testing these kits can uncover the truth and give survivors their voices back."